Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Again, it's the right now it's the afternoon of today, May 7th, 2010. The New York is hovering at about down about 1% or so. We're looking for a big dive later in the afternoon before the bell. Don't go long into this weekend, whatever you do. We'll see what the results are. So we need a debt moratorium. The only way to stop this crisis is to stop with the bailouts. No more bailouts. We don't need an austerity program. The idea that Soros and Einhorn and Paulson of Paulson and Company are going to relent if you take away some Greek's pension and force him to work another 10 years and cut his wages, that's absolute insanity. This has nothing to do with anything. How can we get from some Greek's level of pay to minus $1 trillion on the Dow in just a few minutes? It's out of all proportion. It's as stupid as the explanation that the depression is caused by subprime defaults by poor people on shoddy properties. No, this is a world economic depression, and within it, we can identify the hedge fund hyenas and zombie banks and jackals who are making it worse, who are spreading it. They're accelerating the entire thing. This is the same gang that went after Lehman Brothers. We now have Henry Paulson quoted in the news this week saying that Lehman Brothers was brought down by a wolf pack. Correct, a wolf pack of hedge fund hyenas and zombie banks. Hedge fund fratricide kicked in, as I said at the time. So, again, good reason to ban hedge funds. Wolf packs are not required in the center of civilized Europe. So what we need is an orderly declaration of a complete halt on payments of interest and principal for 5 years or for the duration of the world economic depression, whichever lasts longer. And who should get this? Greece, Portugal, Spain, Ireland, Italy, Iceland, Latvia, and let's also protect the countries that will otherwise be targeted. We need to protect that list of the countries that did go already to the IMF and have gone through the ringer. That would be, again, we've mentioned Iceland before, but Ukraine, Hungary, Belarus, Serbia, Romania, Pakistan. I think we better put Turkey on the list, too, also for their own protection. Somebody needs to come forward and act like a statesman, and I don't know who it's going to be, but the crisis has a way, perhaps, of accelerating the decision-making processes. Merkel, I think we can forget. Trichet, we can forget. Obama, also pathetic, feckless, useless, completely controlled by the dubious Geithner and Summers and Volcker and the rest of these people. The time to stop this crisis is right now, and these countries are going to go bankrupt no matter what. You now have the choice between a chaotic, disastrous breakup of the euro, including the chaotic bankruptcies of these countries one after another. It'll be the Chinese water torture of bankruptcies over a period of months and maybe years, paralyzing world economic activity, shutting down one of the main motors of the world economy. Or you can say the hedge fund hyenas take it on the chin now. We're shutting them, and then the bonds held by the zombie banks are going to have to. They're essentially going to have to bite the bullet. We're told by the Charlemagne column of the London Economist, in short, Europe needs the markets to get it out of this hole, because that's where the money is. The markets. Zombie banks are the markets. The zombie banks are creatures of the state to begin with, and are you supposed to placate them and propitiate them with the lives of innocent Greeks? No, not innocent Portuguese or Spanish or Italians or anything else, or Irish or anybody else. No more victims on the altar of this Moloch monster of finance capital. So therefore, debt moratorium. And that's the act of statesmanship. Now, in the wake of that, since we do have the European Central Bank, here's my word from Monsieur Trichet. If we had somebody like Sarkozy calling for orderly debt freezes, because that's what a moratorium is, it's a freeze, a halt in payment of interest and principal on international financial debt by these governments, and the government-to-government debt would be included, the Paris Club and the London Club. debt owed by governments to other governments and debt owed by governments to private holders, they both take a bath, quite frankly, because that's just the way it is. And if you want to blame somebody, blame the hedge funds who made this crisis what it is. That would be zombie banks, who were in many cases the debt holders themselves. But they're shorting this stuff. It's possible, as Goldman Sachs shows. So we need a debt moratorium. If Sarkozy or somebody, Berlusconi, I would say to Sarkozy, watch out, Sarkozy. If you declare this program for a European debt moratorium, you could capture the admiration of the universe. But if you don't, Berlusconi may get ahead of you. He may beat you to the punch, because Berlusconi is going to have to do it as a matter of survival. Whatever he thinks now, within a month or two, Italy will be definitely under attack. So Trichet at the European Central Bank, if you don't want to break up and end the European Central Bank, you should start 0% credit for job creation in European infrastructure. Start building the European maglevs, start building the European-wide program of nuclear reactors on the French model, have credit for real production, agriculture, industry, mining, commodities, scientific research, this program, aerospace, biomedical, and all that. Get that in there. No money for banks, hedge funds, financial services. Trichet, if you don't start issuing 0% credit for production, your European Central Bank will be broken up in the disintegration which is coming. There will be panic runs on the European Central Bank. You can see it. It's as plain as the nose on your face. Now, another act of statesmanship, which would be good to pair with the one I've just said, we need a statesman capable of coming forward to say, we need a world derivatives moratorium, a European derivatives moratorium, better yet, a world derivatives moratorium, simply a freeze of all payments on derivatives of any kind for 5 years or for the duration of the crisis. 1.5 quadrillion of toxic paper. $1.5 quadrillion of toxic paper, meaning $1,500 trillion worth of toxic derivatives are crushing the world economy. The most important thing you could do is to wipe that slate clean momentarily, freeze it, because it remains. You've got to deal with it later on, perhaps through the courts. But get that dead weight off the world economy, or it's going to crush humanity. And again, it's like the private warfare of the British English oligarchs in the War of the Roses. Back then, Lancaster and York. Now it's the zombie bankers, and their weapons are not swords, but derivatives. So it's time to say goodbye to all that. Now I realize people say, how could Sarkozy do this? How could Berlusconi, Trichet? Well, let's go back to what has already happened. And in particular, this is my question. What would Herbert Hoover do? Easy to make fun of Herbert Hoover. We do it frequently. On the other hand, Herbert Hoover had dimensions of initiative and understanding which no leader has matched so far. I'm calling on Sarkozy or Berlusconi or somebody. Putin certainly could do this. Advance to the level of Herbert Hoover. Get up to the level of statesmanship shown by Herbert Hoover. What I'm talking about is the Hoover moratorium of June 20th, 1931. That's the key to what has to happen. I'm taking this example to show that an American free market hidebound president was able to say, freeze all international debt among the leading powers in 1931. Back in a minute.